Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Earle. I'm one of your assistant principals here at Early College, and I'm happy to welcome you back to our 2022 school or 21-22 school year. I wanted to touch base this morning a little bit about equity in student agency. And most of you know that agency is one of our key components in our program. And for those of you who are new to our campus, I just wanted to also stress how important agency is for everything we do at Early College. We are an AVID school, and we are an AVID school of distinction, AVID standing for advancement via individual determination. And we want to remember that agency is not automatically equitable, that we have to really put some purpose and thinking into how we plan our year and our classes so that students can have access to what matters most to them as much as possible. I just want to take 1 second to put agency into a framework for you. We think of agency perhaps as being around for, it's kind of a new concept. It's been around for, 20, 30 years. But in fact, agency has been around for a very long time. If we think about Augustine back in the 4th century, he was using very progressive teaching methods to help his students think more for themselves rather than just accept what someone tells them. And so using inquiry, and we do this thing with our students. We think about free will, and we think about the fact that as Christians, we have a free will, and we want to use that free will in line with God's purpose for our life. However, we can allow our Christian worldview to impact our agency negatively by thinking that the church controls everything we do, that we don't have a lot of choice because we have to follow doctrines, or we can choose to think that the church is really an opportunity for us to develop our leadership skills and learn more about how God gave us free will and enabled us to make choices for our lives that are going to put us in a better situation. So a biblical worldview of agency is really that the Lord provided us with the skills that we needed to exercise agency, and it is with his guidance that we can do that to the best of our ability. We also can think about kind of a progression from just responding to a stimulus to actually interacting with our environment. And Bandura came up with the social cognitive theory, and he talks a lot about how his background kind of affected that. But self-efficacy became very important. Our own belief and our ability to succeed became very important to his theory, and also his concept of agency, which is kind of taking ownership and control of our own learning, based on a lot of different factors. Bandura just recently passed away like a month ago, and his influence has been a long influence of behavior theory. And Carolyn Dweck, she came along a couple of decades ago, and she started really talking about the fixed versus growth mindset, which kind of piggybacked on Bandura's thoughts of self-efficacy. And, we've talked about this too in our classrooms as, we don't just want to think about this is how we're learning, but we want to think about growing from setbacks and being resilient. And both Bandura and Dweck, if you think about their concepts together, it really allows us to kind of focus on what we at Early College think is important about agency. I did use for this slide a resource from New Tech Network. It's a program that I'm very familiar with, and they too have agency as kind of a cornerstone of their program. And agency, if you kind of think about it, agency is the intersection between the mindset and ownership of learning. So you can look here at some of the key components in both of those aspects. Mindset, we put forth the effort to practice. We really seek out challenges, and we grow from feedback, and we want to be confident, and we think about how things are personally relevant to us. We are actively participating in our learning. And in the ownership of that, we are also building relationships and setting goals and monitoring our learning and thinking about how what we're learning is impacting us and our community. However, we need to think about all the variables that do impact agency. I've done quite a bit of research over the summer, and probably over 30 research studies. I've seen kind of a pattern in these various concepts that can kind of really affect agency, including socioeconomic status, family educational background, and you see some other things on the slide: teacher agency, collective agency, time. Do we really limit time for students to learn, or do we allow that time to elapse so that students can really dig into what they're learning and have time for inquiry and discovery? The emphasis on the type of success is very important. I know at early college we don't always focus just on quantitative data. We do talk a lot about qualitative outcomes, and of course methodologies. We work really hard to incorporate a lot of different methodologies that can enhance student agency. However, one thing that's important to think about is that just because all of our students are getting these concepts that we're using at early college doesn't mean that it's necessarily equitable. So this slide, some of you've probably seen it before. Everybody has a box on the left. That's equality. Everybody has the same material, a box. But on the right, they don't necessarily need the same box to be able to have the same view. So it's important that we think about what components of agency do our students need to really get them to where they need to be, and some need more than others. Thinking about those variables again, it's similar to how we take care of plants. Some plants need more water, more fertilizer, more sun than other plants. And so we need to think about our students as which one of these components are most important for that particular student. Some of our students we know need more time to complete tasks. Some of our students really succeed with thinking about that quantitative data, that standardized test score. And some of them really, in a project-based environment, excel where they can use their agenic skills they've learned and really focus from setbacks and kind of keep pushing through and persevering to get the outcome that they are looking for. And so as each of you are planning your lessons, I want us to think about how we can continue to encourage equity and agency. And in early college, what's very unique is that all of our students already have a lot more water than students in other places that don't use a program that focuses on agency. So we already kind of have a level playing field when it comes to that. But there's so many things else, there's so many other things we can do to think about how we can continue to nourish our students in our own environment that supports agency. And so lastly, I just want us to think about, as I mentioned, we do instill agency here at early college, but in your classroom, is your individual agency strong? Are you generating confidence that your students can pick up on? And are you able to use your own agency to instill agency in other students, which is what Bandera called proximity agency? As a school, are we collectively using collective agency to support our students in as many ways as we can? And so although I think that at early college we do a great job, it's really important for us to think about, once again, how we can provide equity in student agency and make sure that our students are getting everything they need to have access to being as successful as possible. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I look forward to working with you all year long.